When avoidants sense you're pulling away or reaching your breaking point, their behavior shifts in predictable but contradictory ways that reflect their internal panic about losing something they've taken for granted. Their fear of abandonment triggers responses that often make the situation worse because they don't know how to fight for love in healthy ways. These behaviors reveal just how much they actually need you, while simultaneously pushing you further away through their dysfunctional attempts at damage control. They increase intermittent reinforcement. When avoidants fear you're leaving, they ramp up their hot and cold behavior to extreme levels, giving you just enough attention and affection to keep you hoping while maintaining enough distance to feel psychologically safe. This intermittent reinforcement becomes more intense and unpredictable because they're trying to manage your investment level without committing to consistent availability. They'll shower you with attention for brief periods when they sense you're truly pulling away, then immediately retreat when they feel you responding positively to their efforts. This creates a psychological addiction pattern where you're constantly chasing the highs of their occasional warmth while enduring extended periods of emotional withdrawal. The increase in intermittent reinforcement is their attempt to keep you emotionally hooked without having to address the underlying issues that made you want to leave in the first place. They're trying to manipulate the situation back to their preferred dynamic where you're pursuing them rather than walking away. They create manufactured emergencies. Avoidance will suddenly develop urgent situations that require your attention, support, or involvement when they sense you're creating distance. These crises might be work problems, family emergencies, health scares, or other dramatic situations that position them as needing your care and attention. These manufactured emergencies serve to redirect your focus from leaving to helping them, temporarily restoring your emotional investment while avoiding actual conversations about relationship problems. They're using your caring nature against you to prevent the abandonment they fear. The timing of these emergencies always coincides suspiciously with your attempts to create boundaries or distance, revealing their strategic rather than authentic nature. They're weaponizing your empathy to maintain their position in your life, without addressing their contribution to your desire to leave. They engage in love-bombing behavior. When abandonment fear kicks in, avoidants might temporarily abandon their usual emotional distance to overwhelm you with affection, attention, and promises of change. This love bombing feels incredibly intense after their usual unavailability, but serves to confuse and destabilize your decision-making, rather than reflect genuine transformation. This sudden flood of attention and affection is designed to remind you of their positive qualities and potential, while making you question whether leaving is the right decision. They're essentially trying to drug you with the very intimacy they've been withholding to prevent you from following through on your departure. The love bombing is particularly manipulative because it gives you a taste of what the relationship could be if they were emotionally available. But it's unsustainable behavior motivated by panic rather than genuine change in their capacity for intimacy. They make future promises and plans. Avoidants who fear abandonment will suddenly become very future-oriented, making plans weeks or months in advance and talking about long-term goals that include you. This future planning is designed to make you feel like they're finally ready for commitment and serious about the relationship. These promises often include addressing the exact issues you've raised as problems: better communication, more emotional availability, increased commitment, or whatever changes you've requested. They'll outline detailed plans for how things will be different going forward. However, these future promises are usually panic-driven rather than genuine commitment to change. They're buying time and goodwill rather than actually preparing to do the emotional work necessary to sustain the improvements they're promising. They attempt strategic vulnerability. When facing potential abandonment, avoidants might share personal information, traumatic experiences, or emotional vulnerabilities they've never revealed before. This strategic vulnerability is designed to create deeper bonding and make you feel special for being trusted with their secrets. This vulnerability serves multiple purposes. It explains their behavior patterns without taking full responsibility for them, creates emotional intimacy that makes leaving feel cruel, and positions them as wounded rather than harmful in the relationship dynamic. The sharing of vulnerability feels meaningful but is often calculated to generate sympathy and understanding, rather than genuine preparation for emotional intimacy. They're using their wounds as tools to prevent abandonment, rather than material for healing and growth. They monitor your behavior obsessively. Avoidants who fear you're leaving become hypervigilant about your moods, responses, and behavior patterns, analyzing every interaction for signs of your emotional state and likelihood of departure. This monitoring can become suffocating as they try to predict and prevent your abandonment. They'll pay excessive attention to your tone of voice, response time to messages, body language, and any changes in your typical patterns. This hypervigilance is exhausting for both of you because it turns every interaction into a referendum on the relationship's survival. The obsessive monitoring reveals how much mental energy they're actually investing in the relationship, while simultaneously showing their inability to address problems through direct communication rather than psychological surveillance. They become possessive and territorial. Fear of abandonment can trigger possessive behaviors where avoidants become concerned about other people in your life who might influence your decision to leave or provide alternative sources of support and connection. They might become critical of your friends, suspicious of your social activities, or territorial about your time and attention. This possessiveness represents their attempt to control external factors that might support your decision to leave while maintaining their position as your primary emotional focus. They're trying to isolate you from influences that might encourage your independence. The territorial behavior is particularly telling because it reveals how much they actually value exclusive access to you, while being unable to provide the emotional consistency that would naturally create that exclusivity. They oscillate between pursuit and withdrawal. When abandonment panic sets in, avoidants often lose their ability to maintain consistent behavior and begin oscillating rapidly between pursuing you desperately and withdrawing defensively. This creates chaos and unpredictability that keeps you off balance and prevents clear decision-making. One day they're chasing you with unusual intensity, and the next they're cold and distant, creating a psychological roller coaster that's exhausting and confusing. This oscillation reflects their internal conflict between their need for you and their fear of the vulnerability that keeping you would require. The underlying desperation. All these behaviors stem from genuine panic about losing something they've realized is irreplaceable, but their fear-driven responses often accelerate the very abandonment they're trying to prevent. Their inability to address the root causes of your departure while engaging in increasingly manipulative retention strategies reveals both the depth of their attachment and the limitation of their emotional skills.